Welcome back to Steve Robb Reviews and welcome back to Northern Ontario. Today we're going to have a little bit of a chat on one of the biggest questions that I've had about my camp up in Northern Ontario was, Steve, why did you build that shop so high off the ground? Like, what is the reason behind that? Well, today we're going to go into a little bit of construction, and I'm going to explain the reason why I actually built this. Like, take a look and see. Like, we're a couple of feet off the ground, right? Well, the first thing that would come into handy for a lot of people would be, well, you get a lot of snow here. So, like, it's very common for me when I'm up here in the first week in November to get a foot of snow. So could you imagine opening them doors with a foot of snow if it was right on the ground? Plus, there's some features here that a lot of people don't think about when they're building like a small little garage like this. This is 12 by 20. Is how many people you got doing it? Because I built this all myself except for the sonotubes. I put 15 sonotubes in the ground, 4 feet deep, and I had my buddy Jim come up here and he helped me when I was pouring the concrete, and that is about it. But when it comes to this type of construction, when you're up in the north, you got to think about the snow and the effects of it. So let's take a look at something else, the reason why you build them so high off the ground. And that would be the second reason why you build it so high off the ground. Let's go inside, let's take a look. So as you can see right there, yeah, I could take my ATV, drive it right on top, no problem. I just have to back it up a little bit further. But as you can see there, there's a little bit of difference in height, but you know what? I'd rather have something come down, and you could see how in my last pickup truck, which was a little bit higher than this one, the last one was a 3/4 ton, and when I dropped the tailgate, well, if we take a look here, you could see the height. On my last truck, I could back the tailgate and back it right inside, and it would go over top of that lip here. Now this one here can't, but I can back it up a little bit closer, and it is pretty close enough for me so that if I got anything heavy in the back here, I can bring it out and then just drop it down. And that's as easy as that. And if you're interested, that's going to be an interesting project right there in the future. But that's the reason why I did that. So now let's take a look at a couple of clips that I did building this garage all by myself about 15, 17 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. And it took me 1 month in the summer, and I did a little piece at a time. And let's take a look at some pictures and I'll explain some things. Well, this is the first day of the project, and as you can see, I got the 15 sonotubes in the ground, and these sonotubes only go down about, I would say, 4 feet. You can see that there's enough sitting above ground. And if you take a look at the far right hand side, that's where I'm going to start, and I'm going to make sure that the far end sonotube and the closest sonotube to you, I'm only going to work on them two. I can lift these sonotubes up and down, and when I get them to the right height, I can pack the dirt around it so the sonotube doesn't work, and then I can put a saddle in. And that's the main thing, is you just want to start off with the end one first, and then go to the other end, and then only put the concrete in either ends first. And then once you get that in place, then you can just work on the center 3. And you know for sure that it's going to be leveled because you know you're starting off at one end all the way to the other. And of course I only used string line and a bubble level. So I mean, it's not a lot of rocket science. You know, there's not lasers involved in this or anything. It's just regular plain sonotube construction. And when you buy these sonotubes, well, you're never going to get two the same diameter most of the time, because when you buy them, they're all telescopic, so they fit inside each other. So my tractor has a 9-inch auger, so the sonotubes varied between 8.5 to 7.5, because I didn't want to get them less than 7.5, and I didn't want to get them so tight that I couldn't fit them in the hole either. So you got to have a little bit of leeway there. And like I said, as you start off, you run a string line from one end to the other, and you get everything all nice and straight, and then you can adjust the sonotubes for your height up and down, and you make sure that you only start off on one side first. Okay, in this particular slide you can see where I've got all my lumber put in. It's all pressure treated wood, and it's 3 2x8s. And if you just take a look at the first one, you can see in the picture, you can see where they're joined. Well, they're offset. So I've got, a 12 footer and a 10, and back and forth. So I mean, you have to be able to carry the lumber to your spot where you're actually doing your building, and there's no way I could get a 20 footer, right? So you have to actually bring your lumber along and then fasten it, and these are all glued and bolted together. So if you take a look at the arrow on the far right there, that's where I put my first saddle in. No lumber was attached or anything, just put the first saddle in. Then I moved to the far left, put the other saddle in, and with a string line made sure it was perfectly straight. Now, this is the real thing here, is after you decide that the concrete's cured on both end sonotubes, the one on the left and the one on the right, and the saddle is in there and it's all cured, now the easy part is to just, in the center 3, you fill it full of concrete, you have your floor joists here already pre-assembled, ready to go, and what you do is you drop the saddles in each one of them sonotubes, and then you put your joist down first, and then all you have to do is just screw on the side to your joist just to make sure that it's nice and straight to your joist. And that is about the easiest way that I found. And then when you're looking at it right there, and just imagine the other two are not there, but just take a look at ones with the arrows. Okay, so now what you do at this point is you start working on the opposite side. And this is where it gets really interesting. Is now you run a string line for where you see the arrow on the far right in the background, and you bring it all the way over to the other side. And then you can work down from that height, and same as on the front, you work down from that height, so you make sure that it is exactly level from the front to the back. And then now when you try to do the center, well, the center is the easiest, because all you have to do in the center is just, at least what I done, is I had a 12-foot board, a nice straight one, and I went from the far side to the other far side, and then I put all the concrete in the center of the 5 sonotubes. Then I put the straight edge from one side to the other and just measured the distance from my straight edge all the way down to the saddle, and that holds the wood in, and that was just lined up perfectly. Each one, as you can see, this is completely level from one side to the other. So in this picture here, you can see that I've put the floor down, and it's just 2x6, and well, these are all 12 footers, so you can see the sonotubes in between, including all my triple beam floor joists. Well, you can see that there is an overhang on the left and the right, so the 12 footer extends beyond the frame underneath, and all I did is just put pressure treated 2x6 frame. And you can see I got the plywood sheets on there, and I got full sheets on the left, and facing the opposite direction I've got sheets going in the opposite direction going back on the far right hand side. So you utilize the width, so if you're right on 12, then you don't have to worry about having any wastage. And this is all nailed down with my nail gun, and when it comes to working on it from one week to the other, well, of course, I had to stain it. As soon as I finished this, I had to stain it, and wait till the following weekend to come up, because the last thing you want to do is have this sitting in the rain for a month if it gets a lot of rain, right? So let's move on to the next picture here. Well, here we go here, and this is the following weekend that I came up, and this was all done in one day, just framing the the structure up and putting the studs up and the roof. And if you take a look at the top there on the peak, that's a double 2x12 that goes from one end to the other. And of course, so I could have it really strong in the center. So if I wanted to attach a hoist or anything to the center of this, on the inside of the shop, I could lift something up no problem. And you can see how the front was made there with lots of 2x6s attached to each other. So this thing is really strong. Okay, so if we take a look at this picture here, we can see where I put all the 4x8 sheets of spruce siding. And I've got my pressure treated fascia going all the way along the roof there. And when you take a look, you can see where it's stained at the bottom, on the floor. And you can see, now that is exactly 8 feet from where you can see where the floor starts all the way to the roof. I didn't have to cut one sheet. So that's the main thing there, is if you design it so that you don't have to spend so much time cutting anything. And of course, you could imagine that I did have a little bit of I had a lip of exactly a ½ inch when I framed it, so that I could put the sheets up myself without holding them up. And they are actually flush going all the way along there. So that was a lot easier to do as well. And so now we'll move on to the next slide here, where I show that it's stained, and I've got pretty much most of it all done. So that's pretty much it right there. And if you take a look at the top roof there, you can see where I put a drip edge molding all the way along. So when my buddy come up to do the roofing, well, I already had the drip edge on all the way around. And the benefit also about having it raised off is I have a lot of storage. If I want to store stuff underneath the shop, or keep stuff out of the weather, stuff that you're not really too concerned about. And of course, underneath I've got like a whole bunch of old pieces of plywood and water tanks and stuff that I really don't need to have out in the open. Well, you can leave it underneath your little bit of a shed there, or shop, whatever you want to call this. So I stained it all, and this took me, I would say, roughly 5 weekends to build this whole thing. And I think it was a pretty good project. And at the time, well, the price was good too, compared to the price of lumber today. Well, as you can see, it's not hard to do if you do it yourself. Now, if you have to pay somebody to do this type of construction, well, you're going to pay dearly. But I paid, including the roof. Now, I didn't do the roof myself. I had a buddy of mine, a local guy, that come up here and put the roof on. But I did everything else myself. And the total cost for this was $3,500. Today you could never build that for $3,500. And if you take a look up there on the top there, you could see my 100-watt solar panel. I got 4 lights inside. I got a 1200-watt inverter. It provides enough power for my radio and all the lights. And that's really all I need. I can run a jigsaw off it, that kind of stuff. But besides that, you know what? It is just one of these projects where you just do one piece at a time, and by the end of the summer, guess what? You got yourself a small little shop, lasts you the rest of your life. I have to put some outside exterior finishing on this. I'm going to probably do the same as what I've got on the camp, the LP Smart Siding. I'm not going to go with the 4x8 sheets. I'm going to go with the regular strips. And when you're thinking about doing a project and you're wondering, wow, that's a lot of work. But when you think about it, who's going to pay you $100 an hour to do this kind of work? Because if you're getting somebody else to do it, guess what you're paying? You're paying $100 and up for getting somebody to build this for you. If you can even find somebody to build it for you way out in the middle of nowheres. And I made sure that when I designed this, I had as far few cuts as possible. I wanted it to be exactly 5 sheets long. I wanted it to be 12 feet, so I had an 8-foot plywood, 3/4 inch on the floor, and then all I needed was another 4-foot section that gives me my 12 feet. And if you do everything where you have a very least waste, well, you're also doing less cuts. And you know, when you're thinking about building something like this, just take your time. And when it comes to the design phase, well, I just drew it out all on paper, and I figured out, you know what, I'm making a lot of mistakes just by drawing it out. And it's easier to make mistakes on paper than it is when you're back in the woods and you've cut this board 3 times too short and it still won't fit. So thanks for joining me here today. I hope you found this interesting on me building this little shop, 20 by 12, way up in Northern Ontario. You guys come back again. If you haven't seen this channel before, well, you're welcome to subscribe and come back and watch some more. Cheers.